There we go. All right. We're gonna get started. And we'll start with last week, a couple of people wrote slow down. So that was probably the top suggestion. So I'll try to slow down, but if I talk too fast or go too fast, slow me down. If you printed out the notes, you'll notice this time, like for a lot of the definitions, I wrote them down for you, so you won't have to spend as much time writing things down. You could, think about what we're saying, think about examples and stuff like that. Then one of the questions someone asked is, how does inflation impact the law of demand? Now, I thought I wrote the law. So the law of demand is when prices go up, on quantity demanded goes down. So when inflation occurs, prices go up for everything. So that means like the substitution effect isn't available because prices of Coke go up, so do the prices of Pepsi. Now, purchasing power, however, sometimes goes down because income increases usually slower than inflation. So even though salaries should be going up with inflation, they sometimes increase slower. So therefore, the income effect and purchasing power hurts the law of demand in that respect. Okay, so that was a question asked there. I know what I want to do. I wanted to, there we go. Okay, all right. So we started last week with like the law of demand, the three causes of the law of demand, which is the substitution effect. And just to remind you, the substitution effect is if I'm not going to buy Coke because the price of Coke goes, I'll buy Pepsi or I'll buy some other drink. The income effect, which means when prices go up, if my income stays the same, then my purchasing power goes down. And then the third was the law of diminishing marginal utility, which was as I drink more and more soda, I want less of it because I'm less satisfied. All right, so that was the start. Now, what shifts the demand curve? Remember with the production possibilities curve, there were two shifters. There was change in technology or change in quantity or quality of resource. So now we're going to look at the demand curve and we're going to look at what shifts the demand curve. All right. So there's 5 things, and I think of them as timing. The first is taste and preference. So just think of like a change in like VCRs. Right now, the demand for VCRs are down, right? No one needs VCRs. The demand for vinyl records is down. Did I not give you a spot on there? I might not have given you a spot for the 5 shifters. My bad. All right. So you should probably, just like in the column where it says prices of related goods, you should put the 5 shifters because these are really important. And I didn't put a spot. So taste and preference would be 1. Second is income. And that makes sense, right? If you're making more money as a country, if income in the United States goes up, then the demand for products are going to go up because people are going to have more money. They're going to save some, but spend some. So income is the second. Third is market size. So think of Under Armour. At one time, Under Armour only sold their product in Maryland. Then they started the Northeast, then the United States, and then the world. So as you increase your market size, the demand for the product increases because you have more people eligible to buy. The fourth is expectations. This one's a tad tricky. So if people expect the price of cars to go up in September, what's that going to do for the demand of cars now? Well, the demand's going to go up because if people are expecting prices to go up in the future, they rather buy the product now at a cheaper price. And of course, it goes the opposite. If people expect the price of cars to go down, then the demand now for cars will decrease. So there's the time, and the R is related goods. And related goods are substitutes and complements, which I'll talk about in a second. Okay. Let's just do this for a second. Okay, so those.
You're muted, Mr. Bressler.
Okay. Am I good?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. Was I good through the 5 shifters?
You muted right after you said you'll go over related goods later.
Okay. All right. So we'll go over related goods, which is substitutes and complements. These are the only 5 things that shift the curve. All right. If there's a change in price, the curve doesn't shift, and I'll show you what happens in a couple of minutes. All right. So again, change in price does not shift the curve. It only causes movement along the curve. And if you were here for the production possibilities, remember a change in demand of a product slid on the curve. All right. So what are related goods? One are substitutes, and they are goods used in place of one another. So let's go with Pepsi and Coke. If the price of Pepsi goes up, the demand for Coke will increase. And that should make sense, right? If the price of Pepsi goes up, people are going to buy less Pepsi, therefore demand more Coke. And obviously, it works in reverse. If the price of Pepsi falls, then the demand for Coke will fall. All right? So in related goods, they both go in the same direction, right? The price of Coke goes up, the demand for Pepsi goes up. The price of Coke goes down, the demand for Pepsi goes down. The second one is what we call complements. Those are goods that are bought together. Think hot dogs and hot dog buns. Helmets, bicycles. Skis, ski boots. Now, if the price of hot dogs go up, could someone tell me what's going to happen to the demand of hot dog buns? You could hit the reaction to raise your hand, or everyone's has a different, or you could just yell out if you think you have it. What's going to happen if the price of hot dogs go up? What's going to happen to the demand of hot dog buns?
It will go down.
It will go down, right? Because the price of hot dogs go up, people are purchasing less hot dogs, therefore they're going to demand less buns. All right, so that's how complements work. They kind of work in opposite reaction. If the price of one goes up, the demand of the other goes down. All right, so when I gave you timer and related goods, these are the related goods, substitutes and complements. And for whatever reason, they drive students crazy. Okay. All right, any questions on the shifters or the related goods? All right. So when we're talking about income, there is two types of income. The first we would call normal goods. And what is a normal good? As income increases, demand increases. And as income decreases, demand decreases. And that kind of makes sense, right? If you're making more money, you can buy more stuff. And again, if I make $100 more, I'm not going to spend all 100, but I still might have 70 more to spend and 30 to save. The second one is what we call an inferior good. And all an inferior good is when income increases, demand falls. And again, as income falls, demand increases. And one of the things like for inferior good, if you think of McDonald's, when income falls, people still want to eat out. But instead of saying eating out at Outbacks, they now eat out at McDonald's. So when income falls, demand for McDonald's increases. Now, you are not responsible for knowing what is a normal good or an inferior good, as far as they're not going to say Outbacks and you got, oh, normal good. They'll tell you it's a normal good or an inferior good. What you have to know is for a normal good, income increases, demand increases. And for an inferior good, they work in an inverse relationship. Okay. All right. So here is, like, say, the price of cereal, the quantity of cereal. And did I put this? Did I put the graph in the notes? All right. And there is demand downward sloping. All right. And I only picked two prices here, 3 and 2, but it just says, like, for D1 at $3, people will buy 10 boxes of cereal. And at $2, people will buy 20 boxes of cereal. But that demand curve, every spot on the curve is how much cereal people will buy at that given price. So we're looking at D1. All right. So remember I said earlier, price does not shift the curve. So look what happens. When I go from $3 to $2, I just slide down the curve. So at that given spot at point B, there'll be an increase in what we call quantity demanded. All right. Quantity demanded is just a change at one particular given spot. And again, if I go up from 2 to 3, quantity demanded decreases. So the big thing I want you to see here is a change in price slides up and down the demand curve. Now, take one of those 5 shifters. Let's go for income. Income doubles in the United States. That's when you go from D1 to D2. Now, what's the difference here? The difference is every spot on D2, at every price level, people are demanding more now than they did before. So when you go from D1 to D2, we say there's a shift in demand, a change in demand, an increase in demand. Anytime that language is used, the curve has shifted. If there's a change in price from A to B, there's a change in quantity demanded. Again, what's the difference? A change in demand is either an increase or decrease on every spot in the line. A change in quantity demanded is just a change at that given spot, like from A to B. All right. That sometimes gets confusing. Ask questions. Try to get yourself clear if you're not clear. Just yell out a question, or you could hit the chat box if you have a question. No one? Okay. All right. So A to B, change in quantity to demand due to a change in price. So we don't say shift there, we say slide. All right. Then A to C is a change in demand. That means had to be a change in taste and preference, or a change in income, or a change in market size, or a change in expectations, or a change in related goods. That's timer getting you from A to C. All right. Here's what I want. Hamburgers are a normal good. I want you to go through these 8 scenarios. Tell me what in timers, a taste, income, market size, expectation, or related goods. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, will demand increase or decrease? So let's just do the first one together. Population boom. Luke, would you know what the determinant would be in a population boom? Yeah. Let me first answer the question. Someone asked a question in the chat. QD does equal quantity demanded. Do you want to?
Wouldn't it be an increase in demand because the market is increasing?
Yeah, so the determinant would be market size due to the population boom. And then it would be an increase in demand because market size. So you'd put market, increased demand. Okay, now knock out the other 7. Okay, no problem, Luke. All right, I'll give you guys 6 or 7 minutes to go through that. What number are you on? What number are you on? Are you done with them?
Yeah.
I'll give you guys another minute or so. Okay. All right, Ryan, what do you have for number 2? Income falls due to recession. First, the determinant, Ryan, would be what? I was looking forward to when I never had to call on people at home again. Ryan, you with us?
Wait, which Ryan?
Oh, Ryan K.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I didn't realize there were more than one. All right, so number 2, Ryan. First of all, what determinant?
The income would be the shifter.
Okay, and what would happen to demand?
It would decrease.
It would decrease. And if you see under letter A, I kind of drew the graph, right? So you have downward sloping D, demand, price quantity on the axes. You go from D to D1, you show the arrow. There you are. Okay. Any questions on that one? All right. Again, we're doing the hamburger market. Aiden, what would happen for number 3?
Would the demand increase?
Okay, why?
Because the price of carne asada falls.
All right, so if the price of burritos falls, Aiden, are people going to be buying more or less burritos?
More, so it actually decrease.
Yeah, so demand would decrease. All right, now, which determinant, Aiden, would that be?
The price.
Price isn't a determinant.
Carne asada.
Yeah, no, but what in time, or is it taste, income, market size, expectation, or related goods?
I'm not sure.
All right. Let's see, can we get Nick, could you help him out? What would be the determinant?
I'm not really sure. I thought changes in price don't shift the curve.
It doesn't. But is it a change in the price of hamburgers, Nick?
Oh, no, it's not.
What's it a change in the price of?
Would it be related goods?
Yes, it's related goods. It's a change in the price of a substitute. You could get a burrito or a hamburger, all right? And that would look like A again. Downward shifting, shifting to the left, arrow, D to D1, price and quantity on the axis. Okay. All right, Drew, price increases to $5 for hamburgers.
That would decrease the demand.
What's the determinant?
The shifter would be market.
Are there less people?
No. Would it be income?
Are people making less money?
No, but the price goes up.
All right. Is price a shifter?
No.
All right, it's not. But Drew, what would, someone's piping in on the chat, so let me just check to see. Uh, Ryan, I'll come back to you in a second. I just saw your question. So Drew, price is not a shifter. So what you're gonna get is if you look at graph C, you're gonna go from B to A, you're gonna just slide up. So quantity demanded is gonna change, but there'll be no shift or no change in demand.
Yeah. So would it then meet expectations because people will buy less of it because they expect the price to go back down?
No. Now, you're thinking, you have good thinking, but they would have to say to you, so for expectations, it would be price will increase next week to $5. That would change demand now. But when they're just giving you the price is increasing right now, then it's just a slide up.
All right. So I guess I would cancel them out and it would be taste and preference.
Oh, no, it's no shifter. It's no determinant,
Oh,
okay?
okay.
It's no shifter, no determinant. All right, now, someone asked me about the burritos. Is that falling to $1? Could that be a change in taste and preference? I think it would be a change in taste and preference if people stopped eating hamburgers to eat burritos. But why it's a substitute, it's the price falling that's getting people to purchase it, not like the change in taste, moving away from hamburgers and more to burritos. Ryan, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And like the next new health craze, no ground meat. Mr. Donovan, what do you have for that?
I'm sorry, I just got here. I'm kind of lost. Can you
That's
explain what's going
okay.
on for a sec?
Yeah, no, you're good. David?
Is the taste and preferences?
Okay. And what's going to happen?
Would the demand decrease?
Demand's going to decrease. So you're going to see like under graph A, all right? Taste and preferences, people aren't eating ground beef anymore. So demand's going down. All right. Good job there. Ian, number 6, hamburger restaurants announced they will significantly increase prices next month.
The determinant would be expectations and demand would increase.
All right, excellent, perfect. And that would be diagram B. All right, we go from D to D1, we show the arrow, meaning that we're increasing, we have price and quantity on the axes, and it's expectations because it's next month, people are buying more hamburgers today. All right. Number 7, government heavily taxes shakes and fries, causing their prices to quadruple. Oof. Mike, what do you have on this one?
The demand would decrease.
Okay, and what's the determinant here?
Would it be expectations? Because people expect the price to go up.
No, because the price has went up. When you guys are thinking of expectations, look at number 6, like it's telling you in the future what's going to happen. But here it's telling you government has already What are fries to hamburgers? You got it? Yeah, they're compliments. All right. So if shakes and fries prices are quadrupling, they're compliments, therefore people are buying less hamburgers. And you were right, the demand for hamburgers will decrease. Okay. All right. Drew, why don't you try number 8?
This one would be no shifter.
Correct.
The demand would increase.
All right. What we would say, Drew, is quantity demanded would increase. When you say demand increases, you're saying the curve shifts. All right. So we'd say quantity demand increases. Subtle language that you'll get used to. All right. And guys, people are confused. So please, I mean, we're coming here in the summer, spending our time. So please ask questions if any of these are confusing to you. Either hit the chat or just shout out a question. Huh? Where? Kian?
Can you just list off the different determinants? I missed that.
Sure. The first one is taste and preference. Kind of like what's in style or what's in fashion right now. The second one is income, which is, are people making more or less money? The third is market size. Are more or less people have the ability to buy your product? The fourth is expectations. What's going to happen to prices in the future? And the last one is related goods, which are substitutes and complements. So I think of it as timer, taste, income, market size, expectations, related goods.
All right, thanks.
No problem. Any other questions? No one else? Okay.
Mr. Bressel, I had a question.
Go.
Are there multiple shifters that could be contributed to one thing?
Give me an example of what you're asking.
Well, like the thing Ryan said in the chat for the one about burritos when we were talking about hamburgers, could that also be taste and preference?
I mean,
And on top of like having
yeah,
which
you could have,
shifter was.
you could have two different. Usually they only are going to give you one, but you can have two. Anything else? Okay. All right. Quick review of demand. I'll give you a couple of minutes to look at all these. Like some of them were from last week. So if you weren't here last week, you're not going to be able to do it, but we'll go over it so you could hear it, or I'll go over them. So I'll give you a minute or two or three to just look at them and see. Oh, almost all of them are from last week. Right? Yeah. All right. If you were here last week, you'll have a chance to do this review. Otherwise, in a couple of minutes, I'll go over it and you'll be able to hear it now. So at least you'll get it. So I'll give you like 3 minutes to look at them. is today. There's a couple from today. All right. Since I don't know, like some of you were here and some of you weren't, I'll go over like the ones we did last week. What are two key aspects to definition of demand? Willing and able. Are you willing to buy the product and are you able? So do I want, do I want a new car that's willing, and do I have the money that would be able? The law of demand. Price up, quantity demanded down. So the law of demand is price goes up, quantity demanded. That means it's sliding on the curve, goes down. Price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. That means just sliding up the curve. Okay. So from A to B or B to A is the law of demand. So I go B to A, price goes up, I go from 20 to 10. I go from A to B, price goes down, I go from 10 to 20. That's the law of demand. All right. Substitution effect. Price of Pepsi goes up, people buy Coke. So the substitution effect just means the price of a product goes up, people will buy the other alternative. Income effect is if price goes up, I can only afford to buy less. So for an example, Pepsi costs $1 a bottle. I have $10. I could buy 10 bottles. Pepsi goes to $2 a bottle. I can only buy 5. All right. So it's not really a change in income. It's a change in purchasing power. And it obviously goes the other way. Excuse me. If Pepsi starts out at $5 a bottle and I have $10, I could buy 2. But if it goes to 1, I now could buy 10. Notice my purchasing power has changed, not my income. The law of diminishing marginal utility is as I continue to use something, God bless you, my satisfaction will decrease. So as I continue to use something, my satisfaction will decrease. So I'm hungry now. A donut, I'd probably rate the donut a 10. Maybe the second donut would be a 10. But by the third, I'm not as hungry, so it goes to 9 or 8. So satisfaction decreases. Okay. Number 7. Can anyone tell me the difference between quantity demanded and demand? That we like did today. Anyone want to take a chance? Come on. Okay, I'll go back and. Okay, quantity demanded, a change in quantity demanded is a change in price of the product. So you're going from A to B. So the change is only at one given price. So a change in quantity demanded would be a change in price of the product. So quantity demanded only changes like at $2 at point B. A change in demand is a shift of the curve. And that means at every price on the curve, demand has either increased or decreased, depending on whether you shift the curve right or left. But say in this example, on every spot of the curve at D2, you're demanding more than you did at D1. Okay, so when we say a change in demand, it has to be caused by one of the 5 shifters, and the curve has to shift. All right, 2 shifters of production possibilities. I said before, one would be technology. The second would be change in quantity or quality of resources. And then shifters of the demand curve are 5. Timer. So T, taste and preference. I, income. M, market size. E, expectations. R, related goods. Any questions?
Mr. Brestrom, I might have just missed it, but did you go over number 6?
Ah, no, I didn't. Thank you. So because my satisfaction goes down as I say, continue to buy more and more donuts, therefore I'm going to want less donuts. And the only way to get me to buy them would be to lower prices. So that would be like why marginal utility causes the law of demand. At that price, like if a donut's $1, by the time I'm going to eat my third, it's not going to give me $1 worth of satisfaction anymore. So I'm going to stop buying it. Thank you. Any other questions? And by the way, you should ask questions, but if things are fuzzy, don't get nervous because we're going to do it again. It's not like I'm going to just start the year, assuming everyone knows this. I just think like when you do it again, if you are fuzzy, it's going to be clearer. Okay. And it's going to help you a lot. And by the way, this is the 2nd unit already. So like it's not in the summer project, we're past it. All right. So supply defined. Now, supply is harder for you. Why? Because you're used to buying products. That's demand. Supply is from a producer's perspective. So what is supply? It's the different quantities of goods that sellers are willing and able. Remember, those were the 2 key words for demand, but it was willing and able to buy for demand. Here it's willing and able to sell at different prices. So it's how much cereal Kellogg's is willing and able to sell at different prices. Now, I'd like you to think about this. If price goes up, do you think people are going to supply more or less of their product? You're just thinking supply. Forget the demand part. If price goes up, am I going to want to supply more cereal or less cereal? Could rate. Why?
Because the quantity of demand went down.
No, don't think of demand now. Just think from a supplier. Because he said less because he felt the quantity of demand would go down. But just think from a supplier's view. I think either on the participants or the reaction, you could raise your hand. Come on. Take a chance. What do you think now? Might not be what you think in 5 minutes, but what are you thinking now? Got someone in the chat. They'd want to sell more. Okay, that's exactly correct. They'd want to sell more. Why? Because they're going to make more money. So the law of supply is there's a direct relationship. So as price increases, quantity supplied increases. All right. Remember the law of demand, price increases, quantity demanded decreases. Here, as price increases, quantity supply increases. Then obviously as price falls. All right. This is exactly what he said in the chat. Why? Because at higher prices, profit-seeking firms have an incentive to produce more. All right. So like if I'm a Coke supplier and I'm selling Coke for $1 a bottle and I'm making 50 cents on it. Now, if I sell Coke for $2, I'm making $1.50. Okay. We're just looking at the supply view, not thinking about what's going to happen to demand right now. Okay. All right. So supply is an upward sloping. All right. Notice upward sloping curve. I put, you don't got to write the S. You could put like, I mean, you're not going to write supply. You could put in S. You got the axes. You got P and Q. I put price of cereal. All you need is P and Q and you're fine. And there it is. So demand D for demand, downward sloping, supply upward sloping. All right. Now, what's going to happen, Matthew, if more companies start making cereal? Is supply going to increase, decrease, or stay the same?
It's going to increase.
It's going to increase. Now, why do you say that, Matt?
Because the supply is going to increase.
Yeah, we're going to have more people. We're going to supply more. So there's your upward sloping. And you're going to put an arrow and you're going to shift supply to the right to show it increases. You know, you'd start out, say S1 and S2, and there it is. And notice on that schedule, notice at $5, I'm supplying more. So anytime you shift the curve, on every point of that curve, you are now supplying more than you used to. So I used to supply 50, now 70, at 4, 40, and 60. All right. That's what happens when you shift the curve. All right. All right. So the prices don't change, but more cereal is being produced. What if a drought destroys corn and wheat crops? Nick, what do you think would happen to supply if a drought destroys corn and wheat crops?
It decreases.
It decreases because you need corn and wheat to make cereal. All right. So there it is. Notice it used to supply 50, 30. So now I'm going to shift supply to the left. All right. Same thing, S1 to S2, price and quantity on my axes. There is that. All right. That is shifters of supply. Again, no change in price, but at every price point, I'm supplying less than I used to. Okay. What if cereal companies find a quicker way? That would shift supply right. Okay. All right. Now I'm giving you the 7 shifters of supply. The only things that could shift supply. I think of this as rat nest. Rat nest. So the R is resource prices. Anything that you use to make the product is a resource price. So for my shirt, it could be the cotton, it could be the labor. That is a determinant of supply. Second, alternative production. Say I'm a farmer. I could grow corn or cotton on my land. I'm going to grow the one that makes me the most money. So that's alternative production. T is technology. Like that was the last one we said. If there's a faster way to make cereal or technology makes it faster or cheaper, that's going to affect supply. So there's the rat, resource prices, alternative production, technology. Number of sellers. That was the example. If there's more people making cereal, right? There's more people making cereal, then the supply in the market will increase. What?
Is that why the cereal aisle is so large?
Yeah, but you know what's interesting in the cereal aisle? A lot of the cereals are made by the same company and they're competing against themselves. So if you get mad, and you don't want sugar frosted flakes, you buy another one of that company's sugar cereals. They're kind of nifty that way. All right, I'll get to subsidies in a second. So rat nest expectations. Now it's kind of opposite. If suppliers know prices are going to go up in the future, they're going to supply less now. Why? Because they're going to wait in the future when prices go up and they can make more money. S is subsidies. And I put the definition there in case you didn't know. A subsidy is a government payment that supports a business or a market. So it's kind of an incentive for you to supply more. So it'd be like, for every bushel of corn you grew, the government would give you $1. All right, so there's an incentive to grow more corn. Subsidies, 95% of the time, shift supply right. There's like 1 or 2 exceptions. And then the last one is taxes. And taxes usually shift supply to the left. All right, so there's your rat nest, resource prices, alternative production, technology, number of sellers, expectations, subsidies, taxes. All right, any questions on anything we did today? All right. Again, a change in price doesn't shift the curve. It's just going to slide up or down the supply curve. All right. I'm going to pretty much stop. Here is like our hour. I'm going to stop here. Next week, we're going to put supply and demand together. And by the way, if you get the supply and demand thing, the rest of the course is really based all on it. If you're not getting it, we'll just continue to work on it. And again, when you do it again, the second time, it becomes easier. All right, any questions from anyone? All right, then I appreciate you coming, and I will see you next week. Last one next week. Have a great day, guys.